Everyone, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Today I had a very intense but wonderful, long conversation on WhatsApp with Kalachandji, who is a member of the Revisions for You panel that I sit on. And I use my voice a lot. I've been using my voice a lot the last few days, therefore if my voice isn't so clear, don't mind, please. Welcome back. We're going to get right into it because now we're getting into the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu to Rüpa Gosvämi, which is so important, especially for our chanting. How to chant, how to hear. Okay. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's classic, poetic glorification of the Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, not to be taken literally and throwing your Gita out the window and Bhagavatam out the window, not like that, just to clarify just how important the Sri Caitanya-caritämrta is. He said, in due course, Mahapralaya, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or, if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam, but under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage, because after it has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, we've reached chapter 19, the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu to Srila Rüpa Gosvämi. I'm going to read the last text we heard yesterday again, because it's so important and it sets this is when the teachings start, and the purport is particularly important to put us all in the proper frame of reference. Text 152. Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu is speaking to Srila Rüpa Gosvämi. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of Shravana and Kirtana, hearing and chanting, the seed will begin to sprout. Purport. To live with devotees or to live in a temple means to associate with the Shravana Kirtana process. Sometimes neophyte devotees think that they can continue the Shravana Kirtana process without worshipping the deity. But the execution of such Shravana Kirtan is meant for highly developed devotees, like Haridas Thakur, who engaged in the Shravana Kirtana process without worshipping the deity. However, one should not falsely imitate Haridas Thakur and abandon deity worship to try to engage solely in Shravana Kirtana. This is not possible for neophyte devotees. The word Guru Prasad indicates that the spiritual master is very merciful in bestowing the boon of devotional service upon the disciple. That is the best possible gift the spiritual master has to offer. Those with a background of pious life are eligible to receive life's supreme benefit, and to bestow this benefit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead sends his representative to impart his mercy. Endowed with the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master distributes the mercy to those who are elevated and pious. Thus, the spiritual master trains his disciples to render devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Guru Kripa. It is Krishna Prasad, Krishna's mercy, that he sends a bona fide spiritual master to the deserving disciple. By the mercy of Krishna, one meets the bona fide spiritual master. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, the disciple is fully trained in the devotional service of the Lord. Bhakti Lata Bij means the seed of devotional service. Everything has an original cause or seed. For any idea, program, plan, or device, there is first of all the contemplation of the plan, and that is called the bij, or seed. The methods, rules, and regulations by which one is perfectly trained in devotional service constitute the Bhakti Lata Bij, or seed of devotional service. This Bhakti Lata Bij is received from the spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. Other seeds, called Anyabhilasha Bij, include Karma Bij and Jnana Bij. If one is not fortunate enough to receive the Bhakti Lata Bij from the spiritual master, he instead cultivates such seeds as Karma Bij, Jnana Bij, or political, social, or philanthropic bijas. However, the Bhakti Lata Bij is different from these other bijas. The Bhakti Lata Bij can be received only through the mercy of the spiritual master. Therefore, one has to satisfy the spiritual master to get the Bhakti Lata Bij. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasadaha. The Bhakti Lata Bij is the origin of devotional service. Unless one satisfies the spiritual master, he gets the bij, or root cause, of karma, jnana, and yoga, without the benefit of devotional service. But one who is faithful to his spiritual master gets the Bhakti Lata Bij. This Bhakti Lata Bij is received when one is initiated by the bona fide spiritual master. After receiving the spiritual master's mercy, one must repeat his instructions, and this is called Shravana Kirtana, hearing and chanting. One who has not properly heard from the spiritual master, or who does not follow the regulated principles, is not fit for chanting, kirtan. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana. One who has not listened carefully to the instructions of the spiritual master is unfit for chanting or for preaching the cult of devotional service. One has to water the Bhakti Lata Bij by receiving instructions from the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Classic purport. Vintage Prabhupada. 153. As one waters the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed sprouts, and the creeper gradually grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of this universe and goes beyond the Viraja river, lying between the spiritual world and the material world. It attains Brahmaloka, the Brahman effulgence, and penetrating through that stratum, it reaches the spiritual sky and the spiritual planet, Goloka, Vrindavan. Purport. A creeper generally takes shelter of a big tree, but the Bhakti-lata, being the creeper of spiritual energy, cannot take shelter of any material planet. For there is no tree on any material planet that the Bhakti creeper can utilize for shelter. In other words, devotional service cannot be utilized for any material purpose. I'll repeat that. In other words, devotional service cannot be utilized for any material purpose. Devotional service is meant only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes men with a poor fund of knowledge maintain that bhakti can be applied to material things also. In other words, they say that devotional service can be rendered to one's country or to the demigods, but this is not a fact. Devotional service is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is beyond this material range. There is a river or causal ocean between the spiritual and material natures, and this river is free from the influence of the three modes of material nature. Therefore, it is called viraja. The prefix vi means vigata, completely eradicated, and rajas means the influence of the material world. On this platform, a living entity is completely free from material entanglement. For the jnanis who want to merge into the Brahman effulgence, there is Brahmaloka. The Bhakti-lata, however, has no shelter in the material world, nor has it shelter in Brahmaloka, although Brahmaloka is beyond the material world. The Bhakti-lata grows until it reaches the spiritual sky, where Goloka Vrindavan is situated. 154. Being situated in one's heart and being watered by the Shravana Kirtana, the Bhakti-lata grows, the Bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way it attains the shelter of the desired tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan, in the topmost region of the spiritual sky. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabir Ya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabihi Goloka Eva Nivasat Yakilatma Bhuto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. He resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Ladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. In the spiritual world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna has expanded himself by his spiritual potency. He has the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, Satchidananda Vigraha. Everything in the Goloka Vrindavan planet is a spiritual expansion of Satchit Ananda. Everyone there is of the same potency, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. The relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his servitor is Chinmaya Rasa. Krishna and his entourage and paraphernalia are of the same Chinmaya potency. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is expanded throughout the spiritual world. And when that Chinmaya Rasa potency expands through the material potency, it becomes all-pervading. The idea is that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists on his own planet, Goloka Vrindavan, he is also present everywhere. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. He is present within all the universes, although they are innumerable. And he is also present within the atom. Ishwarak sarvabhutanam riddhishar junatishtati. He is also present within the heart of all living entities. This is his all-pervasive potency. Goloka Vrindavan is the highest planet in the spiritual world. In order to go to the spiritual world, after penetrating the covering of the material universe, one must penetrate Brahmaloka, the spiritual effulgence. Then one can come to the Goloka Vrindavan planet. There are also other planets in the spiritual world called Vaikuntha planets, and on these planets Lord Narayana is worshipped with awe and veneration. On these planets, Shantarasa is prevalent, and some of the devotees are also connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Dasya-rasa, the mellow of servitorship. As far as the mellow of fraternity is concerned, in Vaikuntha, this rasa is represented by Gaurava Sakya, friendship in awe and veneration. The other fraternity rasa, exhibited as Vishramba, friendship in equality, is found in the Goloka Vrindavan planet. Above that is service to the Lord in Vatsalya rasa, parental love. And above that, and above all, is the relationship with the Lord in the Madhurya rasa, conjugal love. These five rasas are fully exhibited in the spiritual world in one's relationship with the Lord. Therefore, in the spiritual world, the bhakti creeper finds its resting place at the lotus feet of Krishna. 155. The creeper gradually expands in the Goloka Vrindavan planet, and there it produces the fruit of love for Krishna. Although remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. Purport. In Goloka Vrindavan, the devotees have very intimate relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotee engages in the Lord's service in great ecstatic love. Such love was exhibited personally by Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu in his teachings to the people of the material world. The fruit of the devotional creeper is the pure desire to serve and please the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishnendriya Priti Ichcha Dari Prema Nama. Krishnendriya Priti Ichcha Dari Prema Nama. That's C.C. Adi 4, 165. In the spiritual world, one has no desire other than to please the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned soul within the material world can neither understand nor appreciate how a pure devotee in the material world can render confidential service to the Lord out of feelings of ecstatic love, and always engage in pleasing the Supreme Lord's senses. Although seen within this material world, the pure devotee always engages in the confidential service of the Lord. An ordinary neophyte devotee cannot realize this. Therefore it is said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyeha na Bhujaya. The activities of a pure Vaishnava cannot be understood even by a learned scholar in the material world. Every living entity is wandering within this universe in different species, and on different planetary systems, according to his fruitive activities. Excuse me. Out of many millions of living entities, one may be fortunate enough to receive the seed of the Bhakti-lata, the creeper of devotional service. By the grace of the spiritual master in Krishna, one nourishes the Bhakti-lata by regularly sprinkling it with the water of Shravana-kirtana, hearing and chanting. In this way, the seed of the Bhakti-lata sprouts and grows up and up through the whole universe until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and reaches the spiritual world. The Bhakti-lata continues to grow until it reaches the topmost planetary system, Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna lives. There, the creeper takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and that is its final destination. At that time, the creeper begins to grow the fruits of ecstatic love of God. It is the duty of the devotee who nourishes the creeper to be very careful. It is said that the watering of the creeper must continue. Ihan mali seche nitya shavanadi jala. It is not that at a certain stage one can stop chanting and hearing and become a mature devotee. If one stops, one certainly falls down from devotional service. Although one may be very exalted in devotional service, he should not give up the watering process of Shravana Kirtana. If one gives up that process, it is due to an offense. This is described in the following verse, 156. If the devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, his offense is compared to a mad elephant that uproots the creeper and breaks it. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are dried up. Yadi Vaishnava aparada utte hati mata. Hati mata means wild elephant. Upadi vachinde tara shuki yaya pata. Purport. One's devotional attitude increases in the association of a Vaishnava. Tandara Chadana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janami Janami Hoy E Abhilas. By his personal example, Narottam Das Thakur stresses that a devotee must always remember to please his predecessor Acharya. The Goswamis are represented by one spiritual master. The Goswamis are represented by one's spiritual master. One cannot be an Acharya, spiritual master, without following strictly in the disciplic succession of the Acharyas. One who is actually serious about advancing in devotional service should desire only to satisfy the previous Acharyas. Echai Goshai Yara Mui Tardas. One should always think of oneself as a servant of the Acharyas. And thinking this, one should live in the society of Vaishnavas. However, if one thinks that he has become very mature and can live separate from the association of Vaishnavas, and thus gives up all the regulated principles due to offending a Vaishnava, one's position becomes very dangerous. Offenses against the holy name are explained in Madhya-lila, chapter 8, verse 24. Giving up the regulated principles and living according to one's whims is compared to a mad elephant, which by force uproots the bhakti lata and breaks it to pieces. In this way, the bhakti lata shrivels up. Such an offense is especially created when one disobeys the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called Guru Abhagya. The devotee must therefore be very careful not to commit offenses against the spiritual master by disobeying his instructions. As soon as one is deviated from the instructions of the spiritual master, the uprooting of the bhakti lata begins, and gradually all the leaves dry up. 157. The gardener must defend the creeper by fencing it all around so that the powerful elephant of offenses may not enter. Purport. While the bhakti creeper is growing, the devotee must protect it by fencing it all around. The neophyte devotee must be protected by being surrounded by pure devotees. In this way, he will not give the maddened elephant a chance to uproot his bhakti creeper. When one associates with non-devotees, the maddened elephant is set loose. Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu has said, Asat Sanga Tyag e Vaishnava Achar. The first business of a Vaishnava is to give up the company of non-devotees. A so-called mature devotee, however, commits a great offense by giving up the company of pure devotees. The human being is a social animal, and if one gives up the society of pure devotees, he must associate with non-devotees, asat sangha. By contacting non-devotees and engaging in non-devotional activities, a so-called mature devotee will fall victim to the mad elephant offense. Whatever growth has taken place is quickly uprooted by such an offense. One should therefore be very careful to defend the creeper by fencing it in, that is, by following the regulated principles and associating with pure devotees. Even if one thinks that there are many pseudo-devotees or non-devotees in the Krishna consciousness society, still one should stick to the society. If one thinks the society's members are not pure devotees, one can keep direct company with the spiritual master. And if there is any doubt, one should consult the spiritual master. However, unless one follows the spiritual master's instructions concerning the regulated principles and chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, one cannot become a pure devotee. By one's mental concoctions, one falls down. By associating with non-devotees, one breaks the regulated principles and is thereby lost. In the Upadeshamrita of Srila Rüpa Gosvämi it is said, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangaschalolyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. Upadeshamrita 2. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to attain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. 158. Sometimes unwanted creepers, such as the creepers of desires for material enjoyment and liberation from the material world, grow along with the creeper of devotional service. The varieties of such unwanted creepers are unlimited. 159. These next two verses and the purport following, 160, is extremely important, and I'm going to read up to that purport, finish that purport in 160. Nishi chadachara kutinati jiva hingsana labha puja pratishtadi yata upashaka gana. Some unnecessary creepers growing with the bhakti creeper are the creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to attain perfection, diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All these are unwanted creepers. Purport. This is it. Well, it's not such a big purport. Purport. There is a certain pattern of behavior prescribed for those actually trying to become perfect. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we advise our students not to eat meat, not to gamble, not to engage in illicit sex, and not to indulge in intoxication. People who indulge in these activities can never become perfect. Therefore, these regulated principles are for those interested in becoming perfect and going back to Godhead. Kutinati, or diplomatic behavior, cannot satisfy the Atma, the soul. It cannot even satisfy the body or the mind. The culprit mind is always suspicious. Shall I repeat that? The culprit mind is always suspicious. Therefore, our dealings should always be straightforward and approved by Vedic authorities. If we treat people diplomatically or duplicitously, our spiritual advancement is obstructed. Jiva hingsana refers to the killing of animals or to envy of other living entities. The killing of poor animals is undoubtedly due to envy of those animals. The human form is meant for the understanding of Krishna consciousness, atato Brahma jigyasa, for inquiring about the Supreme Brahman. In the human form, everyone has a chance to understand the Supreme Brahman. The so-called leaders of human society do not know the real aim of human life and are therefore busy with economic development. This is misleading. Every state and every society is busy trying to improve the quality of its eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This human form of life is meant for more than these four animal principles. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are problems found in the animal kingdom, and the animals have solved these problems without difficulty. Why should human society be so busy trying to solve these problems? The difficulty is that people are not educated to understand this simple philosophy. They think that advancement of civilization means increasing sense gratification. There are many religious propagandists who do not know the ultimate, there are many religious propagandists who do not know how the ultimate problems of life can be solved. And they also try to educate people in a form of sense gratification. This is also jiva hingsana. Real knowledge is not given, and religionists mislead the general populace. As far as material profits are concerned, one should know that whatever material profit one has must be abandoned at the time of death. Unfortunately, people do not know that there is life after death. Therefore, mundane people waste their time amassing material profit, which has to be left behind at the time of death. Such profit has no eternal benefit. Similarly, adoration by mundane people is valueless because after death one has to accept another body. Material adoration and titles are decorations that cannot be carried over to the next body. In the next life, everything is forgotten. All these obstructions have been described in this verse as unwanted creepers. They simply present obstacles for the real creeper, the bhakti lata. One should be very careful to avoid all these unwanted things. Sometimes these unwanted creepers look exactly like the bhakti creeper. They appear to be of the same size and the same species when they are packed together with the bhakti creeper. But in spite of this, the creepers are called upashaka. A pure devotee can distinguish between the bhakti creeper and the mundane creeper, and he is very alert to distinguish them and keep them separate. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow I'm going to start with text 160, which is an extremely important verse, and especially the purport, where Srila Prabhupada, without leaving any stone unturned, explains what happens when you chant without trying to give up offenses. Hare Krishna. So, I have until 8 o'clock tonight only. Please forgive me for being rude and whatever. But I have to stop at 8 for various reasons.
First is a comment from Art.
Oh, Hare Krishna Bhakta Art.
He says Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brian Phillips.
Jai Bhakta Brian Haribo.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I look forward to us meeting again after so many years. Your association has been a true blessing and brought more light into my life than you could imagine.
Well, I don't know if I can explain it to you, but it's just as important for me to meet you as you to meet me, in my mind, in my heart. I very much look forward to it. We should make a plan sometime after the lockdown, but also I know that you work in a hospital and you're on the front lines and you're hero actually, but you also have to be very careful. So I don't know if traveling around and visiting friends is what you do right now, but the time will come. The time will come. And I very much look forward to it. Hare Krishna.
He says, thank you from a most undeserving recipient of your counsel and kindness.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada.
Saloni Sachi Sundari.
Saloni Sachi Sundari. Okay, Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, all glories to your divine service, all glories to the divine souls listening to the nectar of Caitanya-caritämrta.
Hare Krishna. Repetition of a good thing is a good thing.
And Sudevi Dasi says, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Sudevi Dasi.
So good to be here again, hearing this life-saving sound vibration. Gopakanya Devi Dasi says, Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya, glories to Prabhupada.
Vrajaloka Devi Dasi says, Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna Vrajaloka. Boy, this is a really nice section of the Caitanya-caritämrta for you to listen with the team in Budapest. Very nice.
She says, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. Daityari Haridas.
Daityari Hari.
He says, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prashila Singh says, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Raikanu Devi Dasi says, Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Raikanu Dasi. I hope you're doing well in the UK.
Brian says, so much food for thought this evening, in particular 159 and 160 really hits the message home.
Oh yes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Priscilla Singh says, thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Priscilla.
And then something from Asha Lata Devi Dasi.
Oh yes. Hare Krishna, Shalata.
Says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. In the purport of 19.152, Srila Prabhupada says that by the mercy of the spiritual master one becomes fully trained in devotional service. My question is, does this happen by only following his instructions, or is there something else we should be aware of, that we should be doing within our relationship with our spiritual master so that we can be fully trained in devotional service? Your servant.
Well, the instructions of the spiritual master are coming through the disciplic succession. That's why it describes very carefully that what we're trying to do is to please the previous acharyas. So, yes, there are direct instructions, to do something practical that the spiritual master wants you to do, on a practical level. Please do this, And then there are the teachings. The teachings of the spiritual master. And we are repeating Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So the teachings of the spiritual master are also representative of the teachings of the previous acharyas. To be an acharya, you have to agree to repeat the teachings from the previous acharyas without changing them. You may adjust the words in order to make it more easy for a modern person to understand, as Prabhupada did in his purports. But you can't change the meaning. You can't change the essence of the teachings. So it's a matter of application. Some of the instructions are very easy. Go get me the pencil. Bring the pencil. Done. You get mercy by doing that, by pleasing the spiritual master by the simplest thing. But most of us don't have the physical presence of our spiritual master on a day-to-day basis. Some of us do, in that relationship, when you have the opportunity to be close to the spiritual master, then the day-to-day discussion and example in front of your eyes of how to be in happiness and distress and all kinds of different situations, which everyone gets into. And then you learn by seeing that example, and then you try to follow internally and externally. But even if you don't have the vapu, or the personal association of your Diksha Guru, there are always persons around us that we know who are more advanced than us and who can be emulated. And the teachings, it's mainly about the teachings. To hear, to try to understand, to inquire, until one actually understands. And how do we know when one actually understands? Then he can follow. Prabhupada said, hearing means doing. Hearing is not just something that comes up into the mind and stays here in your memory bank. So that's part of it. But it means doing. It means acting according to the teachings. Being according to the teachings. And eventually, as it's being talked about here, the creeper grows as you hear and chant. Water the devotional creeper by hearing and chanting. It grows in the heart. And inside, even though you're still here in this world, the creeper goes to the spiritual world. And then the fruits of love of God can be tasted. Then we no longer have to worry about doing something right or wrong. We know what to do automatically. That's the advanced stage of devotional service. So follow in the footsteps. Take the instructions into the heart. Learn them. Practice them. Practice setting an example for others by being a good example, by following the orders of the spiritual master. And in this way, you imbibe the teachings. And as you imbibe the teachings, then you become free from anxiety. Nishochati, nakangshati. Prasanatma also means jolly. You become, in general, happy, carefree, jolly person. Hare Krishna. And with that, I'm over 8 o'clock, and I'm going to stop. Please forgive me. I had long, deep, important conversations today, and my voice is now pretty much worn out, and my back also is, because I've been sitting for a long time while I've been doing that. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing these teachings with me. I mean, yes, we're sharing together these teachings. Caitanya Mahäprabhu to Rüpa Gosvämi. They're so valuable. They're the foundational principles of our lives. So let's hear them together and practice applying them into our lives. And then we'll be happy both individually and collectively. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Tomorrow night we will start again. Same place, same time, same station, same subject matter. Hare Krishna. See you then. Hari Bol.